Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today I'm back with more Total War Warhammer 2 online action. We're here once again with the Beastmen, going to be taking on the Dark Elves, so let's go ahead and jump straight to the army composition. I've gone ahead and brought Malagor, as I think the Cygor summon's pretty strong in this matchup. So we do have that Savage Dominion, of course, and then for the late game situation when we have extra Winds of Magic, I went ahead and brought the Vile Tide, which gives us a nice proc of the Bestial Surge here, which gives a map-wide Vigor buff. Can be very key in late game situations. In terms of the rest of the army composition, we've got 2 Minotaurs with shields, 4 Goreherds with shields, 3 Ungor Spearman Herd up front with an additional supporting an all-natural Cygor here. No Chaos RBST was used in the formation of this particular Cygor, so you can best be assured it is fully grass-fed and organic. Meanwhile, we've got 4 units of Centaurs with throwing axes out towards the wings, 2 here and 2 over here. And that's about it for my army. For my opponent's Dark Elves army, he's got a Dreadlord Sword and Crossbow, who's a reasonably solid pick in this matchup. He definitely is relatively safe up in the air unless I had brought like Harpies and Mantle of Garok or something like that. Still has AP missiles, can do quite a bit of damage at range, and overall is a pretty decent character. Has pretty solid range at 125. And yeah, he has also brought for his infantry 3 units of Dread Spears, 1 Harganeth Executioner, a Black Art of Nagrond, Witch Elves, and 4 units of these Black Art Corsairs with handbows. So these guys are actually a really cool unit and very good in this matchup, I would say. They don't do necessarily the best AP. They have decent AP values, 3 AP per shot, 2 projectiles per volley per model. And yeah, the thing about what makes them so great is they can fire while moving. They fire in 360 degrees. You can see a Cygor Rock coming in there and clipping a few of them, doing some nice damage. And they also, yeah, fire 360, fire while moving. They're relatively fast as well at 40 speed. They have 80 armor, pretty decent combat stats at 32 attack and 24 defense with 28 weapon strength. So just an all-around great kind of Swiss Army knife unit, and going to be very good against low armor factions like the Beastmen. These guys, you know, they can run away from Minotaurs and shoot them while they're running away. You know, even something like a Centaur will take quite a bit of damage trying to chase these guys down. So a very solid pick in this matchup, and I do agree with them quite a bit here. He's also brought a Fire Sorceress here. So let's go ahead and take a look at the spell loadout. We've got Cascading Fire Cloak for that melee defense and armor piercing. Flaming Sword of Ruin gives a nice weapon strength buff, of course. And the Burning Head for that AoE damage clearing. So without further ado, let's go ahead and pop the battle into full gear. And we'll watch as the Cygor opens up another shot on these Black Art Corsairs here. A very good unit and very good in this particular matchup, which is why I'm targeting them as a priority target over objectively more high value units in these you know, these oh, why am I blanking out right now? Harganeth Executioners, the Witch Elves, and the Black Guard here. Although they are more high value technically, I feel that these Black Art Corsairs are bigger dangers to me, so I'm trying to smash them out first. We've already got 1 unit down to about half HP, so that's great. My opponent is advancing. We've summoned up another Cygor here. We're going to be making solid contact with the middle of those Harganeth Executioners. Meanwhile, over on this far side, I've lost out a little bit in the mobility engagement here. My opponent did get the better of me in getting on these Centaurs with throwing axes with a very nicely timed Flaming Sword of Ruin there to give him a bit of extra weapon strength. But yeah, it's going to be tough for my opponent advancing up the pipe here. He's getting a little bit over aggressive with his lord here, this Dreadlord with the crossbow. He was skirmishing, trying to get some damage done on the Cygor, and now has taken a ton of damage from these throwing axes because he's a little bit too close. So he definitely needs to fly back away, and it looks like he will be. The issue is this guy has no way of healing, so he's already taken a ton of damage down to about only 20% HP. And with the loss of leadership there, it's going to be pretty tough for the Dark Elves to hold up. In addition to that, because of the way I've deployed my formation, I'm all wide all across this area, you know, controlling a ton of different map space. My opponent's going to have to split up his forces, you know, to attack or else suffer this missile fire, you know, as he attacks one side or the other. So in that way, we're able to spread my opponent out. You can see we did a ton of damage to this Dreadlord who got caught out of position with the throwing axes there. So right off the bat, loss of leadership going to be pretty tough. That being said, this Cygor, who has racked up 32 kills against elite tier infantry, is getting just docked down by all the Dark Elf missiles here. You can see the The repeater crossbows, the Black Arc Corsairs he got one last rock throw there, but the Cygor is going to go down. Thankfully, I've got one more summon in my pocket. We've got these Ungor Spearman Herd just kind of screening out on the flanks, getting a little bit out of position, honestly, with these Dark Riders, but we're hopefully going to be able to catch some of them. Meanwhile, I'm fading back with the Gore Herds with shields here, just to kind of form up a second line here. Then we're going to form up a second layer here and keep the two Minotaurs in sweeping positions. You can see we've engaged this unit of Tread Spears here with the Ungor Spearman Herd, so definitely a battle of super heavyweights here. Not really, but yeah, fun battle nonetheless. We've got, again, Ungor Spearman Herd just kind of pushing off these Black Arc Corsairs so they're not able to fire quite as much at that Cygor, who did just land an excellent shot on those Black Art of Nagarond, who so far have not got into melee at all. They have 0 kills and only 1,300 hit points left. They're actually wavering at this point, so very rough stuff for the Black Guard there and a lot of these other infantry. These Witch Elves, though, are going to get in the back of this Ungor Herd and definitely do some damage, but here comes the Minobus charging up the flank. We've got Hargonath Executioners battling it out with Gore Herds. They'll definitely take down these Gore Herds, no problem. But with the Minotaurs on station, we're going to be able to get some nice armor-piercing damage coming in here. And a great Burning Head for my opponent as well, going to be coming down, doing quite a bit of damage to those Gore Herds. You know, I say that. It actually didn't do that much at the end of the day. But the leadership debuff may be enough to actually rout these Gore Herds off. But now we're coming in with the Minotaur support. Finally, going to be getting a brutal charge in here. They're going to get in here and do a ton of damage, especially to these unbraced units. That being said, there is a lot of missile fire on station, and this is exactly why I bring the shielded version of the Minotaurs. Because they have that silver shield, that 55% missile block chance, means they're going to take a lot less damage against something like these handbows. You can see the just crazy amount of volume of fire. These guys have a pretty good refire rate. They all fire 2 shots per volley, as many of the Dark Elf units do. They're just putting out an insane volume of fire right now, and it's ripping through a lot of the units in this pocket here. But thankfully, again, that's why we bring the Minotaurs with the shields to help mitigate that kind of missile fire. We've got the third Cygor summoned up here. Meanwhile, the natural Cygor is being carved up by the Spearmen over here. A little bit of a swing and a miss there from that rock being thrown, but yeah, my opponent doing a good job staying calm with these Black Arc Corsairs, just keeping up the missile pressure and taking down this Cygor. But at the end of the day, the loss of leadership is going to be pretty rough for the Dark Elves. He also doesn't have a great answer at this point for my Minotaurs. You know, the Black Arc Corsairs are definitely a danger, and they can put down the Minotaurs. But thankfully, I've got the shield, so if I'm, you know, attacking from the front, we'll be okay. And I'm going to now use the Centaurs who have regrouped to inundate these guys and at least pin them in place while we bring the Minotaurs and other units in for cleanup duty. So you can see the Minotaurs getting in here. Absolute brutality on these Black Arc Corsairs here. So that's 2 more groups shut down. These 2 groups have taken a ton of damage from Cygor fire, so that's pretty good for me. Meanwhile, the Dark Riders trying to get in here, just about routing off this Gore Herd, but getting terrified, unfortunately, away at the last second by the Cygor. We're getting 1 more Viletide right on top of these Witch Elves, and that is pretty much going to be army losses for the Dark Elves. So, well played to my opponent. It was a very fun battle. Hope you guys enjoyed watching. Yeah, it's you know, sometimes it's fun to bring Malagor instead of Morgur, although I would say Morgur is objectively the better pick. Malagor is still, you know, very, very good, especially with the Cygor summons. I do think it's good against, you know, the Dark Elves in particular really don't have the greatest mobility phase, especially against the Beastmen. They can tend to lose that pretty badly, so I definitely like the Cygor summon in this particular matchup. Can see the natural Cygor is able to rack up 117 kills and a Chevron. Both units of Minotaurs being relatively healthy at the end. 0 kills on this one. It pretty much didn't even see combat for the most part, but 58 kills on this one helped clean up, you know, those Hargonath Executioners and more. For my opponent's army, you know, some bright spots. Definitely the Dark Riders did very well cleaning up some of the Centaurs and, you know, able to take down the Cygors, just not fast enough before they did too much damage. Losing the Dreadlord early on was also very, very rough. That loss of leadership can be devastating against the Beastmen, especially with their fast attack and shock tactics. So let's go ahead and just briefly discuss, you know, my thoughts of this particular matchup from the Dark Elf side. So let's go ahead and go to custom battle here. So I definitely like the pick of the missiles there. So if we go to, let's see here, Dark Elves. Why can I not find them? There we go. So I definitely like the pick of the Corsair handbows. I would say you could take 4 of them. I might even go a little bit heavier and go with something like 3 Witch Elves and then a bunch of Dread Spears. Not necessarily worry about the elite tier infantry. I mean, yes, Bestigors are a big worry, but you can deal with that in other ways. It depends on what you want to take. You know, the crossbow Dreadlord is pretty decent in this matchup, but personally I like to take my Lord and Caster in one, so either Morathi or Malekith in this particular matchup, both which have benefits. Morathi is incredibly fast when she's on her Pegasus and has some really nice AoE effect debuffs and direct damage, so you know, you could take her with a stripped down spell loadout like this, or bring Soul Blight to help pull the armor off Vestigor. You definitely want to take this Heartrender, and of course she's got this Enchanting Beauty as well, so Morathi can be pretty good, and then that also allows you to take the Death Hag on her Chariot, which I think is a very good option in this matchup. If you cut her abilities especially, it's a relatively cheap way to get Terror, Armor-Piercing Anti-Infantry in the front line. She also applies Poison, has a few other nice support buffs here. The Bloodthirst of Cain gives a nice 11% physical resistance in an area of effect, so very strong in the front line. Also has this Fury of Cain, which gives an ally a heavy combat stat boost at the cost of Rampage. But something like this I think would be pretty solid. The Dark Riders, I agree with the pick there. Maybe even, you know, some Harpies or something like that, but something like this I think would be pretty solid overall. You know, maybe you could come in and cut one of these guys and get something else, but you get the idea. Witch Elves are going to be very good against most infantry for the Beastmen, pretty much everything except Vestigor, and even then with the right buffs, you know, with Morathi tearing the armor off and so on, even then they can do very well. So, you know, you might want to play around a little bit with this here. You could maybe cut the shields on these guys to be able to afford one more unit, and we're just about to a Bleak Sword there, so I might even look at maybe changing a few key abilities here. Like, we could probably get rid of Deadly Onslaught on Morathi. That actually does give us enough points to get something else, so we could maybe grab one more Dark Rider, something like that. So yeah, just kind of playing around with things a little bit here, but I definitely like the pick of the Black Ark Corsair Handbows, and then I think Dread Spears and Witch Elves are probably a good way to go in this matchup. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments down below. What kind of build do you like to take with the Dark Elves when facing off against the dreaded Beastmen? Very fun matchup. Hope you guys enjoyed watching this battle. If you like this kind of content, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification button. That way every time I upload a new video, you're notified right off the bat. And thank you very much for watching. Appreciate all the support, and we'll see you next time.